Ryan and I just played Printing Press. This is the latest from Grana and Portal Games. We have it right here on the table.
Yeah, today we're going to talk a little bit about the game and tell you who it's for and who it's not for and help you decide for yourself. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our Just Played videos. But let's jump right into Printing Press.
Yeah, absolutely. Printing Press is sort of a spiritual successor to Gutenberg.
Which, not the musical, the board game.
It is a very different game, though. As you can see, we have it set up right here. We had just played it, so we have our 3 frames with our plates and all of the little cards that you're going to... I don't want to touch any of it because it's very delicate. But in this game, you're going to be drafting a lot. First, you're going to draft the frames. Then you're going to draft all these little cards that go in here because you're trying to effectively get all of these scoring opportunities on the frames, on the plates that are drafted with the frames. You build these out, though. I am going to move one of them without the frame on it. And then at the end of the round, everyone is going to put their frame on it however they want so that they have a 3x3 grid, and that's the grid that's going to be used to determine how many points you scored at the end of that round.
Yeah, a lot of the thematic tie-ins to Gutenberg, you'll see a lot of the same iconography, a lot of the same symbols for scoring and things like that. And it is a similar game at its heart, but it almost serves as a companion piece, I would say, to Gutenberg. So if you like Gutenberg, you can kind of make it a game day there.
I mean, yeah, if you like that theme, for sure, this carries that theme. I mean, Gutenberg's in the game. He's a playable character in the game.
But the game, like David said, it's all about taking the opportunities and trying to draft the best possible grid you can make. Now, what's interesting about this game compared to other games like this is, like David kind of alluded to, you don't start with the frame and position everything in the frame. As you're drafting those tiles, you're laying them out in any kind of weird grid you want, which is why you'll see some situations like this where I have a couple just hanging off to the side. You're going to place your grid only after you've done all of your drafting, and you're not just drafting these tiles. There's actually kind of a grab bag here of some of the symbols and inks and different icons that you'll need to have within your grid maybe to score those points, because it is all about trying to maximize your score. There's some end-of-round scoring, there's some end-of-game scoring, but it's definitely a puzzle.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the drafting. There's so much drafting in this, and I want to point one thing out. There is an initiative order sort of adjustment every time for every step along this route. So you're going to draft the frames, then you're going to have 6 rounds of drafting those little cards again. Each of those steps is going to involve taking a look to see who has the most of these black cubes. Now, when you look at it, it's not just those black cubes, but as you can see in my tableau here, I have some black cubes that were in some already framed, finished frames. And then you might have some black cubes already in the one that you're working on right now before you frame it. All of those black cubes go into that calculation. So if you're drafting things with black cubes or using those tokens out of this bag, one side of them is a black cube, the other one is any one of those different icons that you might be looking for. You're going to be able to get first dibs. And first dibs is important for one big reason. There's a fair amount of chance in this game, and you want the first pick of any draft.
Yeah, there it is. And that's kind of going to be a divisive issue, whether who it's for or who it's not for in general, is how much luck do you like to have in your games? I know for some people, you do like that amount of luck. It's exciting. You don't know what's going to come up with the draft. Even if it means you're not going to hit your scoring potential, it still is exciting to see. And then also there's some hate drafting involved. If your group likes that, you can choose to play that way or not. So that amount of luck, it's difficult to say that, it's difficult not to talk about that because there really is no way to mitigate your luck. There are some powers you can have with your players that might come in clutch a couple times. And there is an option where if you don't like any of the tiles, you can go to the bag and draw some randomly and choose one. But you are still kind of beholden to what you draw, either what comes out in the draft or what comes out in the bag. And there's going to be a lot of darn it moments where you're just like, darn it, I didn't get the one I wanted. But I think the game does try to balance that because you're not just looking at your short-term scoring, you are also looking at your in-game scoring.
Exactly.
And so it's possible that the stuff that you draft, you might be able to say, okay, well, at least I'm going to score this at the end of the game, so it's worth something.
Yeah, I think this issue in particular comes down to, I can put it best this way. If you're someone who wants to get every type of scoring that's sitting in front of you, and we are all that way, right?
Sure, to a point. Me probably more so than you.
I would say you more than me, because you look at these things, you're like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this. And when you're working on one tableau, you're looking at no fewer than 4 different things for that tableau alone, not to mention a couple things that are going to apply to all of your frames at the end of the game. But even just the 4 that you're trying to do, it's not likely that you're going to get all 4 of those. Now, I did a couple times because you do start with some of those tokens, and I had some tokens. I'm like, okay, I'll just use all my tokens. I'll use my character powers. There are character powers. They're just one-time use. And I was able to maximize 1 frame and literally score all the points you could. Whereas on another frame, I scored 5 points. And while at face value, that's like, oh, I just scored 5 points. I didn't get this. I didn't get this. And some of those point scoring is contingent upon getting one of the other point scoring. So if you don't get that one, you're not getting this other one. That can be a little bit of a, like you said, a darn it moment. But again, the game is also fairly quick. Like we played this in what, a half an hour?
Yeah, I think that's another huge benefit of who this game is for. It's not just quick to play, it's quick to learn, and you're not doing a ton on your turn. You're just drafting. Now, you might struggle with how you're positioning it, but you can do that while the players are taking their turn. So you're not sitting there, people aren't just, waiting for you to figure out your exact placement before they do their draft. And that's really it. If you understand how to draft, or if you can teach someone how this works, like the scoring might be complicated, but the actual turn-to-turn gameplay is incredibly simple and incredibly fast-paced.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you're going to be looking for. So on the opposite side of those darn it moments are those moments where you do get the things you need and you laid a cube so that you had initiative order, and then the next round comes and it get that one card that you need, and you lay it down and you're like, so for instance, like I needed a blue ink in my leftmost column. I didn't get that, but I did get the yellow in the middle column. Unfortunately, you have to get both to get those points. But there are times when you can get that. And then that is the same with the plate. If you get the leftmost goal on the plate, that allows you to get the rightmost goal. You can't get the rightmost goal, but when you do all of that, it is a very satisfying turn. And there are effectively three of those rounds. So if you get 1, you get 2, and then you don't get 1, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to go, okay, well, I'm making the most of what came up for me this round, and we'll see how it goes. And like Ryan said earlier, worst case is you're like, I'm not getting these goals. I guess I'll just get more red ink drops because I'm going to score red ink drops across the board at the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's another great example of who the game is for, because each one of these frames is its own puzzle, but then the whole game is making 3 frames. And you're still looking at the puzzle of how those 3 frames roll out. Because each one of the frames, when you're drafting them, you're looking at 4 different possible scorings that are only going to apply to that round. But these scorings down at the bottom, there's 2 on each one, and you get to choose which one scores for your end of game. So if you get to your 3rd frame and you realize, oh, I've been doing a lot of blue ink, I'm going to make the blue ink worth 2 points or whatever, that's huge. Like you can go back and really maximize that. So that makes those satisfying moments a little bit more satisfying as far as if you think you'd enjoy that kind of puzzle experience.
Yeah, so that is Printing Press from Portal Games. If you have any questions at all about it, please get down in the comments below. We'll be happy to get down there and answer whatever we can. Hopefully we've given you a good idea of who we think this game is for, who it's not for, but make up your own mind, give the game a try when you get the chance, and we'll see you next time.